Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
We know that there are a lot of charities here in South Florida, and everyone does so much good. And it's hard to know which charity to give to, but I've been very privileged to become a part of the Broward Health Foundation. And it's so much more than a charity. What it really is it helps to maintain the very best in the hospitals that Broward Health runs. And, of course, everyone has to have a leader on the board of directors. And we have a wonderful, wonderful CEO of the foundation. And then we have, of course, a president who has to try to keep everybody down, quiet, and not jumping up and having all these new ideas and then not being able to fulfill them. So we have someone called Robert Birdsong. We call him Bob. And anyone with a name like Bob Birdsong sings a lot. And as chairman of the board of directors, you certainly do hold everybody together. And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Anita. It's an eclectic group of people, to say the least, and getting all those personalities together and in focus and on task is can be a little challenging at times.
Right. Well, your experience though in life with everything you've done with, in the Navy and working in the nuclear world. Of course, we hear so much about that. Was there ever a time when we didn't even know what nuclear meant?
Yes. Yeah, in the dark ages, I'm not sure that we knew what it meant.
But you certainly have been very strong in that, and we're so glad that someone is leading the foundation the way that you are. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what the foundation does, what its goals are, and what you see happening in the future?
Well, quite simply, the foundation is the fundraising arm for the North Broward Hospital District. We're in charge of the philanthropical support from the community and from our benefactors and planned giving, and just about all the kinds of revenues that aren't brought in from public money are raised through the Broward Health Foundation. It's really an exciting time at Broward Health and the foundation because we have a chance to put our thumbprint on the community in the way of the kids campaign renovating the Chris Everett Children's Hospital.
I don't think that people really realize when they go into a hospital what is involved. I mean, they just think maybe where does the money come from, who pays the doctors, how it all works. And actually, I've learned a lot since I've been on the board, and it's a pretty big deal. What is the actual funding of the whole Broward Health District? It's big, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's about $1.2 billion annually, and they provide about $350 million a year in non-pay care, and they only make about $250 or $200 million of that back through being a tax district. So basically, over $100 million a year comes out of their operating budget to pay for the care of the people who otherwise wouldn't be able to get it.
And since I have been reading so much about all this, it's amazing to me to see the kinds of growth that really has happened over the last 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the foundation itself is taking on projects at each of the hospitals. We took a very unique approach, Dennis. Went up to the CEOs of each of the facilities and asked for their dream project. If you could have the funding, what would you do? And they each gave us their dream project, and the foundation is fulfilling every one of them.
And, of course, they are reasonable, but they are expensive.
Yes, nothing gets done for less than seven figures, that's for sure. And quality health care is expensive. And the thing about Broward Health that people don't know is that our staff, our physicians, and the quality of care has always been unsurpassed. It's always been rated the best in the state. And now we need to bring the facilities up to match, and that's what we're doing.
Why do you think that's true, that they are so outstanding? Is it that you just hire the right doctors and the right staff, or what is it?
Well, I think it comes from leadership down. I mean, I think we've had a string of very strong, capable leaders who all emphasize quality care and patient relations and things like that. And really, if you walk through any of the hospitals, it just really permeates the whole process. The people are just giving, caring, and that's the culture at all the Broward Health facilities.
For so long, Bob, and I'm much older than you are, but hospitals were a place of dread. Oh, no, you have to go to the hospital, and what are we going to have done there? But today, the hospitals seem to encompass other avenues of wellness.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I think that I know the insurance companies and healthcare in general are both keenly aware that preventive medicine is the best medicine. So if you can prevent something from being a problem, it's much less expensive to prevent than it is to cure or fix.
That's very true. Thank you. I know that people are feeling that. Now, for example, talking about raising funds, of course, the Broward Health North is going to be having a new neuroscience center, which is very important to me, people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And this is really big time. I think we have to raise it. Is it $80 million?
Something like that, yes.
And so when people are listening and they say, well, I don't have $80 million, how am I going to help? What should we tell them?
Well, we tell them there's two ways, like in baseball, there's two ways to score a run. Of course, there are the home runs where you have the big philanthropists who are capable of writing the big checks in the seven figures. But you can also score a lot of singles and score runs that way, and that's what we're asking for from the community. We're asking for their singles. We're asking for $1 here, a paycheck deduction there, something that won't impact them too much, but still is a meaningful gift to them.
That's very true, and a lot of people have to, when they go to their attorneys, their lawyers for their wills and trusts, they need to speak up, and they need to just not. I mean, I feel this way. I don't think you should give all your money to your children. I think you should give some money to the community because that's where you grew up. That's where they grew up. And we do have people stepping up to the plate. And especially now thinking about the Children's Hospital and what people have, it's been very, very good care. And even though I know people would say, well, it's not as nice as I would like it, let me tell you, when you're in the hospital with your child, it's perfect. But we want to make it better. So what are we doing in the Children's Hospital?
Well, we're taking right now. There's an environment in the neonatal ICU unit and the pediatric ICU unit where there's clusters of beds all centralized in one area. We are actually taking the several floors inside the Children's Hospital and building private rooms. We're going to have rooms where the environment's more conducive to healing and surviving, quite honestly, where the families can rest and be there with their children, and they don't have to have another bed directly beside them. I think it's very important to have the right atmosphere in healthcare, and that's what we're doing.
Yes, that's very true. And of course, we're even going so far as to provide beautiful artwork and donor walls, and we do believe, and I especially believe, that art is very healing. So, how do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. And and Dennis, our CEO, is such a visionary. You think about it when you walk into a hospital and you see a piece of art that's recognizing the donor, that's electronic and digital and state-of-the-art. It makes you feel better about being in that facility. It also gives the donors a sense of recognition. Everybody wants to hear thank you, whether they tell you they do or not. Everybody wants to be thanked, and that's become a thing of ours at the Broward Health Foundation Board of Directors, is to thank our donors and recognize them and for what they've done for us.
Yes, well, that's society. I think everybody wants to have that, but and you're right, some people more than others. But you're right about the board. It seems like everyone that does any little thing gets thanked. There's so many thanks going on those emails. It's like hard to believe that other people thank the other person that just thanks. So it's a very interesting place to be. But continuing along with this, of course, people who live in Coral Springs listening to the show, you've had a very fine hospital there, but your community is growing. And how do you think we can keep up with growing? It just doesn't happen with magic.
Well, that you're absolutely right. The Coral Springs parkland demographic is part of the quickest growing segment in the population, and the hospital only has a finite number of beds and land, but we're endeavoring to actually add a lot of beds and a lot of different cancer care and some different specialties to the Coral Springs Medical Center, and it's actually known as one of the most state-of-the-art art facilities in Florida as it stands now. We're going to make it even better.
Right. My guest is Bob Birdsong. He is the chairman of the board of directors of the Broward Health Foundation. He's also CEO and president and the top head guy at OK Generators. And I didn't really know what that was all about until I looked it all up. Thank goodness for the website. Just take 1 second and tell us about OK Generators.
Well, first of all, I didn't make up that name. The guy who owned it before me did. I wanted to call it Really Great Generators, but he called it OK Generators. We're a large generator sales and service distributor for the state of Florida and the Caribbean. We don't do residential generators. We do hospitals. We do football stadiums. We do data centers. We do municipalities and things like that. Right. Our annual revenues are about $20 million, and the culture that I like to promote there is giving back as well within my company.
Yes, you are in a lot of board of directors. I noticed that, and you are. That's a wonderful thing to do, that you can take care of yourself, your family, and also remember society and where you live, and that's admirable, and we appreciate you very much for doing that. Bob, I was thinking about when you said how people can contribute. There are a lot of ways. You can donate, of course, just write a check and donate, but we have a lot of fundraising events that you can attend, and even if you don't attend, you can send one of your friends or you can send your employees. And so if you need to go to the website for the Broward Health, and that will really show you lots of things. It's a great website. Just go to browardhealthfoundation.org, browardhealthfoundation.org, and just see all the events coming up. Some of them are a lot of fun. Some are a little bit more serious. But all in all, it's a good way for you to help your community. If you can't write that $80 million check, it's all right. You can write an $80 check or $180 check or something like that. One person that I really am so thrilled that Dr. El-Sanati, who has now become the president, the CEO of the whole district, is really an amazing guy, isn't he?
Oh, he absolutely is. He and I have actually have quite a good relationship going in, and it was imperative to me to find out the direction he had for the foundation, and I was very pleased to find out upon meeting with him that he just loves the direction we're going in and the good things we're doing. And Dr. El-Sanati is a visionary, to say the least, and he has a lot of good, plans for Broward Health District. Yes,
and it's nice to have a physician as in charge also of a medical organization. That doesn't always happen.
Yeah, that's correct. 22 years as chief of emergency medicine. I think he knows his way around a hospital.
Right. I remember many, many years ago, he was very nice. I was doing some article, and he invited me to take me through the emergency section that he was running. And, of course, I had never really seen anything like that. And, he took me all around, and I saw these people sitting there, lying there, waiting. And he's just such a friendly, he's so enthusiastic. And so I think we all feel when you have good leaders, and we do have good leaders with Dennis Stefanacci and you, so it does make a difference. We have to get some more women in there as leaders, though, too.
Well, Broward Health, more than any other healthcare agency around, we have two female CEOs of our hospitals. Of course, Pauline Grant, CEO of Broward Health North, and Alice Taylor, CEO of Broward Health Imperial Point. And our whole leadership team is replete with women leaders, so we're pretty proud of that fact.
Yeah, I know you are, and it's good for other organizations to see that. I don't want to bring this up, but the day of the good old boys, now we have a lot of good old girls. We're seeing a lot of organizations that just are filled with women. I say, where are the men? It's I guess it's sometimes...
It's one or the other, right?
Yeah, right, one extreme to the other. I want to talk a minute about the J.D. Camp Senior Society, because Mr. Camp is really a wonderful, wonderful man, and I know that he has given a lot also, and it's in honor of J.D. Camp Senior, who actually it's quite a story, isn't it? That in 1937, he was I guess he came down here and they needed a hospital, and they had an apartment building, and isn't that how it goes? And he turned it into a hospital.
Absolutely. I think it was back, like you said, back in 1937, it was an apartment building or a hotel or something like that, and he decided we need a hospital, so it got transformed in very short order to a hospital.
Yeah, that's how it happens. People have vision. It's really visionaries that make the difference. So, okay, let's just keep moving on with some of the other hospitals. Let's talk about Imperial Point. I've had a lot of their physicians on my radio shows, and people are very enthusiastic there. It's a very interesting community. It's in the middle of Fort Lauderdale, and I know that, of course, Alice Taylor is just such a jewel.
Oh, she's amazing. And the good thing about Broward Health Imperial Point, it has a very different segment of population. It has the Wilton Manors population. It has a very strong male population, and that's why they came up with the first of its kind man van, which which we've heard about, a mammography van for women. This is a van that does comprehensive checks for men's wellness.
That's true, and I have been on the man van. They do allow us to get up on there to see things, and you're absolutely right. It's because I don't know what it is with men, but they have to be pushed to get. They're just macho maybe, and they don't take the same kind of care for themselves. And then when it's too late, it's a very sad thing. So the man van travels around, and if you're listening and you are interested in bringing it to your community or to a health fair, they'll be more than happy to go. So the thing I suggest, just always go to the website, because on the website it will individualize where what you may want, and you can find someone that you can talk to. So that again is BrowardHealthFoundation.org, and the man van is a lot of fun. So let's get back to Imperial Point. One thing also is they're very proud of their nurses there, and their nurses have reached very high recognition.
Well, and that is Imperial Point, and that is also system-wide. One of the things that the foundation did is, because we recognized the fact that maybe the nurses weren't getting the clinical training they needed before entering the workplace, is we built the first of its kind simulation center in Broward Health North. And that's a place where all of our nurses go and practice on, and for lack of a better word, lifelike dummies. These dummies bleed, they talk, they change color, they complain of all the things that my children complain about, quite honestly, and it gives them that clinical experience that they're lacking going into practice. And that's just one of the things that Broward Health has done to make sure that their nurses and their doctors and their staff are among the best in the nation.
Yeah, that was rare, and I know that one of our board members donated the money for that, and it is just absolute. I mean, I have been there, I've seen it. In fact, I think, and I hope I'm not talking out of place here, that even some other organizations are able to use that.
Absolutely.
Had you heard that? Yes.
Yes, Broward Health is actually a well-known as a teaching facility, and we bring nurses and doctors in from all over to help with their education, their continuing education. So, people think of Broward Health as being one thing, and quite honestly, it's one of the largest benefits to the community in the healthcare within South Florida. Right,
and I was just as you said, Bob, I would much rather have a dummy, pardon the expression, for someone to learn on that dummy rather than put an injection in my skin the wrong way. And this is an unusual apparatus. I don't think it's anywhere else in South Florida. Am I right on that? Isn't this
not currently? But A.J. Acker, who you mentioned as a board member, was gracious enough. She was a nurse as well, and she was the one that came and recognized the need for this, because she sees how people are being trained in these days, and she sees that there was a need for this. And really, it's just been a wonderful tool. The feedback from the nurses and the staff and everyone on it has been that it's just a really special learning tool.
And I think this is a good time, since you were just talking about A.J. Acker, that we know that there are businesses out there, small businesses, large businesses, and maybe no one has contacted you. And that's going to change. But in the meantime, if you feel you have a few extra bucks, you have a lot of bucks, you want to do something to really make a difference for your employees, because remember, it's your employees who go to the hospitals, why don't you just get online and go to the BrowardHealthFoundation.org and ask for someone to come and talk to you, because they now have we have a wonderful committee, and that will happen. Someone will come and meet with you and tell you all about what opportunities there are, and will give you a tour, because we don't want to leave you out. Right, Bob?
No, that's absolutely right. And Anita, and the thing I'd like to stress with our kids campaign is this is our chance to leave a legacy on this community. Rebuilding the Children's Hospital into a world-class facility will not just benefit our children and their children, but children for generations to come. It'll save lives. It'll cure disease. It'll do all the things that we want to do when we reach out into the community. And this is a great way, and there's no better way to do it.
So when people think about the Children's Hospital, right now it's named the Chris Everett Hospital, but that name will be changing because there's going to be some major donation, hopefully, this year. But if people want to, if someone wants to have it named and they want to donate $10 million, we'll take it, won't we?
I think the Anita Finley Children's Hospital sounds just great.
I love it. I'll tell you what, you can have a check for $50 million. You just can't cash it.
Okay.
It won't cash, Bob. But I would. But I'm willing. It's willing, but not feasible. So let's. I don't want to leave out one of the other hospitals. So the big hospital where we actually have all our board meetings really is the General. Now, what's that's what we were talking about with how it all started, isn't it? That was a small hospital that J.D. Camp kind of initiated.
Correct. That was the apartment building that you were talking about, and now it's called Broward Health Medical Center. It encompasses just about every area of healthcare that you can encompass, including the Chris Everett Children's Hospital.
Pretty big, isn't it? And so, and let's just tell you, it's down on Andrews Avenue, and just a little bit south of Davie, and it's this huge hospital. And yes, I do see a lot of people who are probably indigent and people who don't look like they have a lot of money, and we're very proud that we're able to take care of those people, even though, it's hard on everyone because some people have to really just start writing checks to take care of that. But I'm also proud to the fact that nobody's turned away.
Well, you know what, Anita, and it's my belief that just because you're born into a certain economic status or a certain sector of the population doesn't mean that you deserve any less health care than everybody else. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get those babies and those children the same level of health care that everybody else is afforded. Yeah,
that's very, very good, and that's how I think. I know all the board members feel that way, and of course you work hard to do this. You have a very busy schedule, and we really appreciate that you take the time, because with the kind of board members you have, many of them are very successful in their own businesses. They keep you on your toes, I think.
They are an absolutely amazing group of people, and yes, if I ever say something that's not quite right, I'm told about it from every angle, so yes.
That's true. And so now this is the second time that you're, isn't this the second or third year that you are?
No, this is my second year.
I'm
entering my second year as chair of the board, and it's been just a labor of love. It absolutely has, and I wouldn't trade the experience for anything.
I think it's a good time to recognize Dennis Stefanacci. I have been on quite a few boards in my lifetime, and I think he is just, I know if he were here, he'd be embarrassed, but I just have to say, and I know you feel the same way, he is really an amazing man.
Well, before I join a board, I have to make sure that the leadership in place is of the right mindset to take this board in the directions where they feel it needs to go. And I will tell you without a doubt, and you know that I've been involved in quite a few of these things,
yep,
that Dennis Stefanacci is probably the best fundraiser and probably the best CEO for a nonprofit organization that I've ever met.
I can attest to that also. What do you think what makes the difference, Bob?
Two things. One is Dennis has a very long history of doing this. He's been a consultant in this area for a lot of years. He's run very many, and he's a big believer in best practices. He's made a study of best practices, and what he brought to Broward Health Foundation was a study in best practices and implemented them across the board. The other thing is Dennis is very passionate about the causes, about the hospital, about what he does, and you can tell when you hear Dennis speak that he just wants to make a difference, and he wants the foundation to make a difference, and he genuinely cares.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way, and he just goes out of his way. And no matter what you do, no matter how busy he is, there's always a little note. That was good. This wasn't good.
Absolutely right.
I do have to tell you a funny story. We just had our Big Boomer Expo at Seminole Hard Rock yesterday, and they were there with a booth. And Lisa, of course, who is the marketing director for the Broward Health, she was sharing a booth with the Florida Health Department, and they sent Dr. I forget what, I don't know, I want to call her Dr. Sex. I don't really know what she's an older woman. She must be at least in her late 80s. And she was giving out condoms. I know.
Well, from what I understand, it was more than that. But I think it drove a lot of traffic. We'll say that.
No, you're right. I mean, no, that's true. I mean, she gave out a lot of information, but she had a huge amount of content, and they literally ran out. And but it's kind of funny. But on the other hand, that's probably important that we've been talking about that, especially as a gerontologist I have, because elders just don't think, once they can't get pregnant, it's okay, but it isn't okay. And so it's just another health issue that has to be addressed. And so here's this older woman, and she looks old too, and she has this big smile, and she came up to me at the end and said, Anita, I didn't know it was going to be such a big crowd. I didn't have any more, so I guess I'm going to leave now.
Oh, my goodness.
She was great. Sometimes we always have speakers at our board meeting. And of course, the last speaker we had, and I don't remember her name, but she was a physician talking about pain and addiction and what it takes. And she was brilliant. But sometimes maybe someone like this, very lively, could really be very interesting, too. So, I mean, she's real. This is not pornographic. This is real. And so it was great to have her. But I just wanted to then cover another thing with the staff. I just took a minute there with Lisa, but it's the same thing with the staff. They all are gung-ho on everything they're doing, whether it's Tracy or Mai or the people who work there. And so we have a lot of events, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort for events. Do you have a favorite event?
I've chaired the Broward Health Ball the last 2 years, so I'm going to have to tell you that's and I think I'm getting hoodwinked into doing it for a third year. so I'm going to have to say that's our signature event. That's our black tie. That's one where we get to show the community what we're about, what our programs are, and I think we touch the most people with that event.
Yeah, the Broward Health Ball is always exciting. It's at Seminole Hard Rock, and yes, and I think last year we raised, I don't know, it was $800,000, $900,000. Our goal is $1 million.
$900,000. Yeah.
That's a lot of money to make it a ball.
Yes, it is.
I remember going to the Red Cross Ball a lot up in Palm Beach, and they've been doing this a long, long time, and I think they made a little bit more, but for a young organization, in a sense, it's great. Well, you've been wonderful, Bob, and I just want everyone to know you've been hearing Bob Birdsong, chairman of the board of directors of the Broward Health Foundation. Thank you so much for taking your time, Bob.
Thank you very much, Anita, for having me.
It was great. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.